they think that I just come in there and look for knockouts, and that's not the case. I'm actually a sharp, smart fighter.
So, well, I'm here. Who wanted to fight with me?
I really don't care who's in front of me. I don't feel like no fighter can beat me.
My goal is to demolish everybody, to be honest. Everybody that's in my way. The pinnacle to any weight division is to have all the belts, all of the titles. Body work,
Welcome to Body Work. Welcome back. It's Michael Rogers. Welcome to Body Work Boxing. It feels so good to be back. I'm right back at you, putting some more stakes in the ground, man. I got some very interesting things, man. We're going to go over some things. Not sure how long this is going to be. I know it's going to be an hour. But we're going to revisit some things, man. And I got to speak to some ways that we're looking at this thing in boxing, man. I got to talk about Keyshawn, man. You know, he's one of the guys that's from the DMV area, man. So I think that he's a guy that I feel responsible to talk about. You know what I'm saying? I had my fair share of criticisms and everything of him. But I think this decision that he made was a good one, to be honest. I think that this was a solid decision. This was a grown man decision to be able to do this. But people tend to play these little games, man, when it comes to these standards and these goalposts, man. It's like 3-card Marley around this mug, you know what I'm saying? When it comes down to like what we really want, what we really like, you know, what's really going on. There's always a lot of things going on, right? So the curriculum portion might not be that long. Shout out to Cookie Monster. Sounding good. Body work. Salute, Cookie Monster. I appreciate that. But I'm analyzing everything. And we got to revisit something. We got to revisit something that happened after the Shakur fight. When Shakur fought De Los Santos, man. Because it's baffling to me how people's names just pop up out of the blue. And I told y'all about them people that I say they won't kill or let die. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of these people out here, man. And when it comes to people from certain areas and demographics, I don't know if y'all know this, but they kind of pick and choose when they want to support the individual. And they'll support them if it's going to get him in good standing with this person or that, you know, these group of people, they'll use it. But if it's not going to do that, they'll ignore it. You know, and I was really trying to figure out, we know it's a whole lot of gaslighting out here, but I'm going to let you be the judge. Only thing I was thinking about was some of these 48 laws of power, because that's how these boys move. And whenever I do videos on Tank, whenever I do videos on Keyshawn, like these boxers with power, I tend to go back to the 48 laws of power. Well, it's several of them in this one. Rule 13 in the 48 laws of power by Robert Greene. When asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude. This law emphasizes the importance of understanding and leveraging the motivations and desires of others when seeking assistance or cooperation. I see a lot of people online are starting to learn that one very well, man. A lot of people clicking up and doing all kind of crazy stuff, man. I mean, get in where you fit in, man. You know, but the appeal to people's self-interest. 37, create compelling spectacles. And I think this is going to be the vein of the one that I'm in now, which is going to speak to today's little episode. But in the world of power, appearances matter. The way you represent yourself can have a major impact on how others perceive you and your authority. That's why it's important to create compelling spectacles. Man, there's a lot of people playing around with that one online, boy. 17, keep others in suspended terror. Cultivate an air of unpredictability. Too much unpredictability will be seen as a sign of indecisiveness or even of some more serious psychic problem. Patterns are powerful, and you can terrify people by disrupting them. Such power should only be used judiciously. Man. I don't want to get too deep, man. I don't even want to read number 14, boy. Pose as a friend, work as a spy. Yikes. Conserve your forces and energies by keeping them concentrated at their strongest point. Once you discover what a person's weakness is and cater to it, you can use the person to your own advantage. As what people cannot control, you can control for them. You can find out a person's weakness by listening and observing carefully. And I think a lot of people are doing that one. And that's a good one because it really focuses on the media, man. And that's really what I want to get to today. I want to get to the media part and how, you know, when Keyshawn Davis is out here yelling and screaming Tank name, people are like, yeah, right? When he's not doing that, they're painting a narrative like, oh, this is just another line of cherry picks. And I'm like, well, we'll see. Let me get into the article real quick because it's going to raise all of the points that I want to go over. But salute AC, salute body work. All right. So we in here. But let me do this. It's just crazy how they play these games, man, with these people, man. I'm like, man, look, the man got a good fight. Keyshawn and Tank got good work. They got good work lined up, man. And I'm finding it an odd time to where now, see, people will use the fact that Keyshawn might say something about Tank, Tank might say or tweet or something, I don't know, whatever, in the back and forth. They'll use that aspect of it, right? But then when it comes down to like, where was all of the mass praises for the man actually selling out? So this is what they're saying. They're saying he handpicked Lemos, right? So I always put this up because this lets everybody know that I use some things like articles or whatever I come across, even my own material. I'll use them for fair purpose, for the purposes of criticism, commenting, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. That's why I do this, son. But let's get into this right here. I'm a parking lot some things, you know what I'm saying? I'm a parking lot some things as we go over them. All right. Gustavo Lemos on Keyshawn Davis. He's going to start running. This is Boxing News 24. They're using that image from April the 6th. Ed Mulholland, Matchroom Boxing gets credit for that. And this is by Nation Vegas. We've come across a couple of Nation Vegas's pieces. So we're going to judge it, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're going to act like we've been here before, but let me go. Gustavo Lemos says he expects lightweight contender Keyshawn Davis to start running when they meet next month in their 10th round headliner on ESPN Plus at the Scope Arena in Norfolk, Virginia. Lemos has watched Keyshawn's past fight, noting that he runs. He didn't mention that Keyshawn wrestles to escape pressure. We saw that in his last fight against Miguel Medueno last summer on July 6th. Top Rank is trying to turn Keyshawn into a star, but it's not looking good. This fight could be a watershed moment in Keyshawn's career. If Keyshawn looks as bad as he did against Medueno and Nahir Albright, this could signal that Top Rank needs to think of an exit strategy to dump him or bury him undercards to focus on building up the Diamond Gem, Abdullah Mason. So I already know, you already know two things is already in the parking lot. I know probably somebody gonna be in the comments already saying it. Is this guy a Keyshawn fan or not? Can you make an inference as to whether or not they are a Keyshawn fan or not? Can you make an inference as to whether or not they are a fan of Abdullah Mason? Keyshawn's close friend is Shakur Stevenson, and the two of them share a similar fighting style involving a lot of movement to avoid taking punishment. The difference between them is Keyshawn uses a lot of grappling and he fights more aggressively when facing non-punchers. Top Rank promoter Todd DeBuff says the 2020 Olympic silver medalist Keyshawn 11-0 with 7 KOs wanted the Argentinian Lemos 29-1 with 19 KOs out of all the names that he offered him. I want y'all to listen to how they worded it. This man is 29-1 with 19 knockouts, and he fought Richardson Hitchens, where he took Richardson Hitchens tooth and nail. He's 29-1 with 19 knockouts. And he's saying, he's putting it like, oh, he chose him out of all of these other guys. So let's parking lot that. DeBuff doesn't say who the other fighters were, but it's safe to say that none of them were named Andy Cruz. He's Keyshawn's kryptonite, having beaten him 4 times in the amateurs, including the 2020 Olympics. He dominated Keyshawn in the finals. We all beat Davis. We will beat Davis to get to the highest levels to get an opportunity for a title, said Gustavo Lemos to Fight Hype about his fight against Keyshawn Davis on November 8th. No, it doesn't bother me. I was very close to the other division. I weighed in below the limit, so for this fight, I'm going to be coming in strong, said Lemos when asked if it'll be a problem for him to come in below his natural weight class of 140. Yeah, he was a tweener, man. And that's what we got to start recognizing too, man. Like this is a clear-cut thing right here where he is perfectly fine. He's a tweener. Some of these guys are tweeners. If you saw anything or heard anything, I have been telling y'all Frank Martin was a 140-pounder for the longest. I've been saying Devin should have moved up for the longest. Like, some of these guys are fighting well below their weight class, and I think that they would do much better if they moved up. Some of these guys are tweeners. If it makes sense and it's right, they're going to go between 35 and 40. So that's one of the things that we're going to have to establish, man, because it can't be okay when one person is moving down from 40 to fight somebody at 30. One person is moving up from 30 to fight somebody at 40 and everything. Oh, one person just came off of a knockout. The other person just came off of a loss, but that's not acceptable for this one. You see some of the things where the lines are blurred. I think between 35 and 40, I think the lines are kind of blurred. You can even say it at 35 and 30. Especially if you was a fan of pro boxing, you seen what happened last night, and it goes around with the Colbert, Hector Garcia, Lamont Roach, all of these fights, all of these things, all of these weights. But 35 and 30 might be, you know what I'm saying, almost one and the same. And 35 and 40 almost might be one and the same. Lemos is coming off a controversial 12-round unanimous decision loss to Richardson Hitchens on April 6th in Las Vegas. He outpunched the Eddie Hearn promoted Hitchens but the Nevada judges gave it to the New Yorker in one of the most controversial decisions in 2024. We had about three controversial fights. I would say the Bivol and Beterbiev is one. I would say, yeah, the Richardson Hitches and Gustavo Lemos was one, which I had Bivol, I had Hitchens, and the Bohachuk and the Virgil Ortiz and the Oshaki Foster and the Robson Conceição. Those are the 4 fights that we've had that were the most controversial decisions, in my opinion. Fans want to know why Top Rank has selected Gustavo Lemos from the 140-pound as Keyshawn's opponent for November 8th rather than picking out a 135-pound contender. That seems strange. If Lemos is weight drained, he won't be 100% playing in Keyshawn's favor. It would have been better for Top Rank to have selected one of these contenders for Keyshawn to fight. Andy Cruz, Edwin De Los Santos, Floyd Schofield, William Zepeda, Raymond Muratalla, Abdullah Mason, Isaac Pitbull Cruz. So I want y'all to take note of some of those names, right? So they say Andy Cruz. I have been wondering Andy Cruz, but then I'm just like, listen, man, we gotta understand, promotional wise, when somebody ain't saying nobody's name and one promoter ain't saying it, it's almost like they have a silent agreement to where they're not going to fight. Because I was saying, man, why Keyshawn don't ever say Andy Cruz? Why people start looking at me sideways? I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get off of it because y'all making me feel like I'm hating when I'm just saying why he ain't saying it. They got a history that makes sense. And then people kept saying, oh well, that's fine. They can make that fine eventually or whatever. And then they'll get mad when Andy Cruz fighting people like Antonio Moran and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So I fell back off of that. Now, I want y'all to pay attention that Edwin De Los Santos is coming up again because Edwin De Los Santos came up. He was coming up heavy when Tank Davis had mentioned or was announced that Tank Davis was getting ready to fight Lamont Roach. Stop me when I'm lying. Like, his name is coming up so much. Like, when I was saying, man, he a valuable, you know what I'm saying? He's a viable opponent like that. That loss with Shakur is like, what was it really a loss? I mean, yeah, he lost. He went 12, but neither one, they set a record. I said, why they don't run it back? Like, why we don't want to declare definitive? Oh, man, nobody want to see that. I'm like, yes, people do want to see that again. I was told, oh, man, that's just because you want to see Keyshawn. I mean, you want to see Shakur lose. I'm like, all right. He's one of my guys. I promote him. I defend him. I do all this stuff for him, but I just want to see him lose. Like, no, I want to see the good fights. But his name keep popping up now when he ain't fought since the Shakur fight. I'm like, what am I missing? It's the same thing that happened when Gary Russell come up, man. I love Mr. Gary Russell, man. I was talking about him earlier. 6 years, 352 days, he reigned. But it's like, if you keep saying you're going to do this and do this and do that, if nobody don't hear from you and you are not active, the powers that be are not just going to pluck you up out of nowhere and put you there. So activity will be your ally, my friend. So I'm like, we haven't seen. So all of a sudden, after Tank has got that fight signed, then it was, oh yeah, Edwin, he can be available, but it was a word that he wasn't going to be available to the beginning of the year. But his name keep popping up. See, they'll do this to keep us divided amongst all of our guys, like anybody. Because you think about it, man. Think about where everybody's at. Let's just say T.O. is in New York, Richardson Hitches in New York. Let's just say or being from. Let's just say from. Then you got Shakur in New Jersey. You got Tank in Baltimore. You got Lamont Roach, he in D.C. You got Jalil Hackett, he from the DMV DC area. Then you got Keyshawn them, they from Virginia. You know, they'll have all of us all splintering at each other's throat and neck while they basically sing Amazing Grace for somebody else. And the deeper we look at it, we gotta put on our thinking caps, man. We really gotta. They used to ask us to do that when I was in elementary school. They used to say, put on your thinking caps. You know what I'm saying? That means like consciously, critically think about what they do to us and how they'll have us so divided against each other to where it's all good when we shitting and throwing shit at each other, right? But when we try to do our own thing, like when we're headlining the car, we got shit on the books. Like some of these fighters can say they got motion. Then they start doing stuff like this, where they just start nitpicking and scratching and scraping at, you know what I'm saying, whatever you got going on. Floyd Schofield, he supposedly got something on the books. People are starting to bring him up, but then because of the YouTube presence and how people are perceiving him on YouTube, they saying, oh no, man, he might be getting, you know what I'm saying, he might be falling in love with the YouTube thing, man. He might be talking it more than he walking it. And I'm like, I don't know. He got to fight more. Like all these guys got to get a little bit more active. But guess who they giving all of the praise to? William Zepeda. And to a certain extent, rightfully so. But guess what? William Zepeda is making moves. He's number one across the board, so he can go wherever he want to go moving forward. They keep saying it's going to be Shakur. But it looks like Zepeda has the keys in his hand as to who he wants to choose. I think Tank has the keys because he's the money man in the division. But Zepeda being next up, or that next guy where everybody's jockeying to try to, like, you know, support and get behind, rightfully so. He's done work. He's done work. He's rising. He has made his way. He has made his bones. Yes, he has. But he's the second. He almost seemed like the second one that got any kind of real pull. And everybody's hyping them. But look at what they're doing to the guys. Like, look at the message when it comes to Tank. Look at the message when it comes to Andy Cruz when he's standing alone. Look at the message that they behind Edwin De Los Santos when they're not trying to weaponize the threat of him being a threat to somebody in the ring. Look at the message that they're putting behind Floyd Schofield. Look at the message they're putting behind Keyshawn Davis whenever he's not weaponized up against Tank. You got to think about this stuff. Raymond Morataya, his name ringing bells. He getting it on. He just got it on with Tevin Farmer. That was kind of controversial, even though a lot of people say, well, you can say that Morataya edged it out, but Tevin Farmer did, for coming off for having fought the last time he fought and being, you know, not being that fresh. I think Tevin Farmer did very well. I mean, for the conditioning. You know, I know he's a lot better than that. I expect way more than him coming up against Zepeda, and he's going to have to do more because Zepeda will put your lights out if you let him. And now this is where you're starting to see right here. This is the hidden gem, the Abdullah Mason. Now they're starting to use that. People are weaponizing the name of Abdullah Mason right now. Why? Because he's young, he fly, he got the goods. When everybody looking at him inside the ring and thinking that his skill set say that he's next up, right? Then you got some coaches saying that he's next up, right? But then you got some fans that they cringe whenever they hear that name because they think that he's up next, and that don't cater to the narrative that they need to push their favorite fighter. Well, you got to sit back and appreciate them all for what they bring to the table. So they'll weaponize the name of Abdullah Mason when it comes to trying to tear somebody down and say, oh, man, he ain't going to do this, or, oh, man, that's all they want to talk about. It's like, no. That just means that the man is creating traffic, and more than likely, when you lay your eyeballs on him in the ring, you can be like, hey, I wouldn't mind seeing him again and again and again. He's come to that level. Isaac Pitbull Cruz, a lot of people are giving him all of that because he went the distance with Tank, for real, for real. He went in there, he slapped Rolly to sleep, you know, and he had a war with Ryu and got schooled. They was calling him the Mexican Mike Tyson and all that, but it's really not, he's not really quite that. I think that he's really, he's not a 140 pounder. He's really a 135. And I believe Keyshawn actually said that he would fight Pitbull, but I'm not sure if, you know, because people blur the lines when it comes to the promotional companies and all that. When they can weaponize it to drive home a point against somebody that they're trying to hate on, they'll use it. They forget all about promotional boundaries when they want to shit on somebody, they'll forget all about it. But when they want to protect somebody, say, oh no, man, like listen, man, you tried to tell me the Top Rank just gonna openly do. Come on, man. When the last time Top Rank did that with the PBC? Like they'll get all in, you know what I'm saying? They'll get real detailed, real understanding, You know what I'm saying? Real critically thinking-ish when it comes to that. But those are the names. So let's parking lot that. If you got some questions about those names, let's parking lot some of those names. Top Rank obviously isn't going to purposely match Keyshawn against fighters that would beat him and ruin the chances of him getting a money fight against Gervonta Davis. You see this? So Top Rank ain't gonna risk him from getting in the ring with anybody and ruin the chances of him getting a big money fight with Gervonta Davis. Now, with that being said, either they know something that we don't know, or they gotta be popping that out their tail, man. Why do you say that, Mike? Because I said that he was going to get Lemos. I said that it was good. I said that it was actually good for him. Look, this was the list. I said he's taking over Top Rank. I said he's going to go for Lemos. It's good that he's jaw-jacking with the Vargas brothers because that's brothers against brothers. And I said they got Baranchik tucked away. Why you think you ain't heard from him? So they got a plan. And to say that it's Tank Davis is like, that's, you know what I'm saying? Come on, man. This is what they do when they just latch their name on the Tank or say whatever. Now, I don't know what the motive or whatever it is, but, you know, probably because of the name. Because it's a big name. So it says, hence, he's fighting a hand-picked Lemos rather than facing one of the above talents that would ruin the whole point of Top Rank signing him in the first place. So these people right here believe, look, let's look. I want y'all to remember this when these names come up and these names have fights coming up next. I want y'all to think how strongly these people talk about them. These people are saying that Andy Cruz, Edwin De Los Santos, Floyd Schofield, William Zepeda, Raymond Mortaya, Abdullah Mason, Isaac Pitbull Cruz will ruin Keyshawn's plan on his way to Tank. Then this is exactly why I'll be saying, why does everybody, I understand going for the top, but if there are voices out here that are spreading the word that all of these guys will ruin your plans on a way to a payday with Gervonta Tank Davis, why is only one person, everybody saying one person's name? And the fact that they say he handpicked. Now this goes back to something. This goes back to something that Keyshawn said a while ago. It says, like in all fights, I'm going to look for a knockout. What I'm worried about is he's not going to want to throw punches and he's going to start running. I prefer him to stand in the center of the ring and not run, said Lemos about Keyshawn. If that happens, it could end at any time for any one of us. Deuce Nagas, you know what I'm saying? Lemos got some cojones, man. It's not just the movement that could prevent Lemos from landing the shots. It's the grappling and the shoving that Keyshawn does. Yeah, I mean, Keyshawn will get physical with you. That's an aspect that people actually like. You know what I'm saying? He will get physical. We saw he's not trying to be all clean in the pocket and all that. No, you get physical, you know what I'm saying? He's going to get physical back. We saw a lot of that in the recent fight against Medreno. He will get physical. I respect him. He's a good opponent, but I'm also prepared to give him a good show, said Lemos. And you can see that video called Don't Run. So that's I guess they had the video on Fight Hype. This is the article. And what I want y'all to know, let me see who we got. This guy most definitely don't like you see? So he has a tone, right? He has a tone. But this is what I want y'all to realize. This is what I want y'all to understand, right? See, these guys, they'll come out and they'll weaponize when they want to, they'll weaponize somebody against you. You know what I'm saying? They will use it. They will use somebody's name to shit on somebody or to degrade somebody or do whatever. But look, I wanted to revisit the time right after when Shakur Stevenson fought Edwin De Los Santos, and what I was saying back then, as opposed to what's going on right now, and the fact that he spoke to something. Isn't it odd that they say he picked, Keyshawn picked? Oh, he picked. Ain't it interesting that when they give credit for somebody actually picking who they want versus when the promotional companies actually have all of that privilege? Ain't that odd? Because somebody was getting into it not too long ago, like when they were saying, oh man, you get 3 names and out of those 3 names you make a pick or whatever. And because remember when they were trying to say that, let me jog your memory. They were just saying that about Jared Anderson, right? And I'm gonna tell you how this whole narrative thing and how the media work and how it was really designed, right? First you grab a hold of a large ass speaker box, right? And you put stuff out there. And then you just gotta water it. You know what I'm saying? I see a lot of people are loving the whole echo chambers. I heard that. I'm seeing that that's very catchy. You know what I'm saying? And that's what you really get after that. After the big hoorah, you have a bunch of people that just echo that shit, right? But in the Jared Anderson situation, afterwards, they said, oh, well, he chose Bacoli. And everybody was like, okay, well, he chose Bacoli. He was like, nah, he said he had 3 other names and he chose Bacoli as the one. I'm like, well, you know, that's one of them things to where hindsight is going to be 2020, right? Because if he chose him and the dude gave him a hard fight and he would have knocked Bacoli out, he like, dang, he picked that beast. But if he chose him and he wound up getting stopped, you know what I'm saying? He wound up getting knocked out. Then that decision takes on a whole different complexion, and based on who can control the narrative is how they're going to paint that picture. That's what I was trying to say when Keyshawn actually chose Lemos. I said, now listen, we're going to say it's a good fight. Why? Because you got to think about how they're using Lemos. And this is where your critical thinking skills. They will use Lemos to shit on Richardson Hitchens, but he don't get no credit for actually winning that fight. Right? They're going to use him to say, oh man, he can upset the apple cart when it goes up against Keyshawn. But if Keyshawn don't knock him out, they're gonna say, "Oh man, look at man. Really, if you look at it, man, Lemos really beat Richardson Hitchens and he beat Keyshawn, man. He's actually more overrated and he's actually underrated, if you ask me." They're gonna use it to their advantage in hindsight either way. So my message to the businessman is to handle business, man, because they're gonna use the fact that you had 3 names and you chose Lemos to say that you handpicked him, even though that's how it all works. Because everybody keeps saying, oh man, how did Tank come up on his fourth option, his fourth freaking option, man? And I'm like, well, if it was a list, because I'm thinking, man, what's the difference of you getting chosen, or what's the difference of somebody throwing out 3 people at a time at you saying, all right, man, you got these 3 names, who you want? All right, give me Lemos. All right, you got these 3 names, who you want? All right, well, shoot, give me a Schofield. You know what I'm saying? What's the difference between that and then somebody saying, well, I got a list of 6 people. I'm not sure what order, but you on the list. Ain't that like, I'm not no genius, whatever, but ain't that the same as 3 people on the list right now, and then after that, 3 more people on the list, instead of, collectively about 6 or 7 people that it can go down with, maybe even 8 that can go down in any kind of order at this time, unless something crazy happen, and it's 6 of them on there, and at some point in time, I'm gonna get around to getting them all. Like on Colors, when he said, man, when he was saying, man, let's go run down there and one of them, you know what I'm saying, cows, and the old head said, no, we just gonna walk down and come on. So I don't know what the difference is when somebody has a list. They're given a list, and out of that list, they pick one. And then on the next fight, it's like, oh, okay, well, cool. All right, well, now this is going to be the next one or whatever. That's all they do. So I want Keyshawn to understand that, man. You said you picked him. And as hardcore fans, us who knows that damn well that Richardson Hitchens should get full credit because he did it. He fought the man at 140 with the 10-pound rehydration. People fail to realize that. He got shitted on after that fight, but he never got dropped. He didn't get stopped. It was a rough, rugged fight, but it was no drops. It was no stoppage. He boxed. He clinched when he needed to. Because certain fighters can do it, and then when they clinch, it's a part of the game. Richardson Hitchens didn't get no credit for that tough outing against Gustavo Lemos, even though he still got his dub. Right? So he got the experience. Keyshawn Davis is going to get an experience with Gustavo Lemos. And whether or not he goes in there and he handles business, man, is going to dictate whether the narrative is going to be in his favor. Otherwise, they're going to do him just like they did Jared Anderson after the Bacola situation. In which, yeah, Jared, you know what I'm saying, he can go back to the drawing board and say, listen, man, I ain't had no business standing toe-to-toe there. But understand, if it goes bad, they're going to be talking about Keyshawn bad because they're going to say, you chose him. They're going to say, you chose him. And that's just the way the narrative things go. They're going to say, yep, he was handpicked, Lemos squeezed. Like he was lemon squeezing with Lemos is what they're going to say. And he's a tough customer. I call him Ice Hike Pitbull Cruz with bells and whistles. But I try to be consistent in how I talk, man. And that's why I go back sometimes when I play something I was on like a year ago or something I was on 2 years ago to let you know that I'm here to put the stakes in the ground and really let y'all know what's going on with the conversation. So I'm gonna play this one thing and then you know what I'm saying, whoever want to come on and chop it up if you have anything to say, because this is more like this is really like a pay attention to what's going on and how they paint these narrative type conversations. So I wanted to do that, and I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this here. And I appreciate y'all, man, for coming in and rocking with your boy, man. I like all the support, man. Big, small, little, or tall. Y'all matter to me, man. I'm just protecting myself at all times. You did. But let me go ahead and play this, man, because I want y'all to see this, man. I want y'all to see. I just want y'all to see it, man. This is gonna tie this. It's gonna make sense. And whatever goes on at that time, I speak about it. Try to be responsible about it and as real as possible about it in real time. You know what I'm saying? That's important. So I'm here. I'm gonna go ahead and play this.
He didn't want to box. He wanted to actually prove that he could punch with you
Welcome to Body Work. Welcome back. It's Michael Rogers. Welcome to Body Work Boxing. It feels so good to be back. Let me get right into this video. The other night, Thursday night, speaking on a Monday, Shakur Stevenson took on Edwin De Los Santos, La Granada, the Grenade. And he's facing a lot of criticism for his recent performance. Why? Because they set a record for punches landed, and you know the persona or what Shakur embodies as a boxer wasn't displayed that night. You know, word is he has some ailments. You know what I'm saying? I think that in this whole ordeal, I think De Los Santos, I think he kind of got the bad end of the stick on this. You know what I'm saying? I can't say that De Los Santos was one of my guys because it was not a lot known about him, but I had been following him for about a year. You know what I'm saying? A little over a year. You know what I'm saying? Years some change. He came on the scene, made a heavy statement, and he caught my eyeball. So, you know, he started becoming one of my guys. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of hard when it's a barrier, and you know you can't really get in to see what's really going on with some of these boxers. But I thought the dude had a lot of potential, man. Definitely somebody that put eyeballs on screens, but he's getting lumped in as not being able to cut the ring off and this and that. And we can draw other comparisons where the big bright lights got too big and too bright for one of our young up and coming phenoms. You know what I'm saying? And he wasn't able to cut the ring off. And he got all the praises, but the guy who he wasn't able to cut the ring off on got dismissed like, oh man, that dude ran all, you know, tables have turned on this one. You know what I'm saying? And before the fight, Shakur Stevenson said, oh man, for those who don't, because I said it in my pre-build, you know what I'm saying? I said, for those who think that Shakur, all he do is run and you know what I'm saying? I was like, he pretty much been standing right there. He came out and did an interview days later and said, hey, I pretty much stand right there. So sometimes what you see is not what you get. And more importantly in boxing is what you see sometimes ain't what you can hit. You know what I'm saying? And that was the case in that fight, man. Nevertheless, you know what I'm saying? We salute Shakur Stevenson for becoming a 3-division weight champion. You know what I'm saying? He got his WBC against Edwin De Los Santos. You know, he's licking his wounds over the performance. People say, hey, was it a win? Was it a loss? Judging criteria, I mean, I had Shakur winning, but, you know, you could make a case that it could have been a draw. You really could have made a case that it was a draw, and that's just being all honest. And, you know, like I said, De Los Santos is becoming one of my guys. I was starting to watch for him because he's an exciting fighter. He got charisma. He got personality. You know, I think he handled himself very well. You know, coming in as the underdog, I think he really made a lot of attempts. I think that going through this experience for him is going to pay off big dividends. Because now, you know, and I was saying this earlier in a couple of chats, I was like, look, man, now there's film out on Shakur. Now they know, okay, when he want to run, this is what he do. This is his foot placement. This is what he don't like. So it's good and bad for Shakur. It's good that he was able to go ahead and submit himself and get that belt. You know what I'm saying? The one that Devin dropped. It was good that he got that belt. The manner in which he got it. You know what I'm saying? It left a lot for people to criticize. And in this dog eat dog, you know what I'm saying, with content creators bite other content creators and, you know, other boxers just all over each other and they say anything on social media and, you know, they personify something and get in the ring and it's something else. You know what I'm saying? This is just the state of boxing right now. And, you know, my concern is with De Los Santos. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I keep asking this question, did his stock rise or did his stock fail? And people say, oh, he was a hype job. I'm like, yeah, but in a lot of the fights, You know what I'm saying? People say, oh man, that wasn't effective aggression. But in today's time, the guy who's pushing the action, you know what I'm saying? Because I would say for the majority of the fight, he was the one pushing the action. That accounts for something else. You know, and it's real crazy when, you know, you got the quote unquote Mexican style and they in the middle and they like, come on, fight me. You know what I'm saying? You know how they get mad and be like, come on, like a la Canelo did with Bivol when Bivol was boxing and Canelo got frustrated, was like, come on, like come over here to the ropes. And Bivol was like, it kept putting that stick in his face. You know what I'm saying? It's something when you got one of those kind of fighters in the middle and then calling for action. And you know what I'm saying, the other guy just you know what I'm saying, it's you know, just, you know, taking what he can get, getting the points, you know what I'm saying, getting out of there, not necessarily fleeing. You know what I'm saying? Not a lot of straight line backing and just, you know what I'm saying, running here and there. Not a lot of that, but just boxing. You know what I'm saying? I would say a little more active than what an Erislandy Lara would get on a typical evening, even though he's a superb boxer. And I think later on in the game, he's graduated into more sitting down and he doesn't move around as much. But I would say in his heyday, a boxer that's a little bit more active. I would say Lara with like about 10% more, 10, 15% more of his offense. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of style that's going to beat a puncher. You know, so I think De Los Santos was pushing the action. I think that I was one of the first people that said I wanted the rematch. I know it was a stinker. You know what I'm saying? But like with the build, I mean, this is something that Floyd would have done. If it was mixed reviews like this, because think about it. When he beat Maidana and he heard enough from the crowd and all this and all that, he said, no, I'm going to run this back. You know what I'm saying? This is totally different than the Tank and Pitbull Cruz, because Tank clearly won that fight with one hand and he boxed circles around Isaac Pitbull Cruz. You know what I'm saying? Universe forbid Tank would have had two of his hands. You know what I'm saying? He'd have been able to put down the ones and the twos real proper. Like, this is totally different. I was one of the people that was saying, hey, man, maybe this fight deserves a rematch. Why? Because in the ranking system, you know what I'm saying? I was looking at the ranking system. And I would say 3 days ago, this had to be leading up into the fight or like right before the fight where they had, let's see if I can go through it. It had Devin Haney as number 1, Lomachenko number 2, Tank Davis number 3, Shakur Stevenson number 4, Williams Zepeda number 5, Pitbull Cruz number 6, Cam Bosis, Jermaine Ortiz, Frank Martin, and Zoe Abdullayev. That was the rankings as of like about 3 days ago. I'm not sure if that was like right before the fight, right after the fight, but right around that time, those were the rankings. Now, given the fact that Devin, they might ranking wise, they might keep him there because he still holds 3 of the belts, and until they drop him, they have to have him there because he has the majority of the belts. He got 3 of the stones. You know what I'm saying? Shakur just secured 1 of them, so his rankings got to go. But I was looking at De Los Santos, man. I think he was like number 6 because Zepeda had turned it down, Pitbull had turned it down, Kambosos had turned it down, Frank Martin had turned it down, and I'm thinking about the fighters that I rock with. So I was concerned about De Los Santos. I was concerned about Frank Martin. You know what I'm saying? Maybe even a little bit of Jermaine Ortiz. I'm still trying to figure out and fill out Jermaine Ortiz. I can't say he's one of my guys. I got my eye on him, and I'm still trying to peg who he is and what he really is. So I was looking at these rankings in the aftermath of this decision. The very first thing is I don't think that the results of this fight got us any closer to getting the Shakur Stevenson and Tank fight. The only fight that I want now that Devin Haney's at 140. I call that the irony of life. You know what I'm saying? But hey, what can we do? You know what I'm saying? All we gotta do is put a little message up to the boxing guys. But you know, I think that fight, the fight might have took a step back. Shakur also said that his contract's up next year. It's talks that, you know, him and Floyd been romancing the stone. You know, who knows? A lot of speculation. A lot of people say a lot of things, you know what I'm saying? Bob came out and said, who knows if we'll keep him? You know, and people say that to kind of drive up and see what the market value is or whatever, because they could let Shakur go over to the zone. I'm sure Eddie, you know, I don't know. After that performance, it's a lot to judge. But his hands was tied behind his back fighting on a Thursday. I was trying to be the positive one and say, hey, for boxing fans, it's like, hey, we getting supreme boxing, a title shot from some elite fighters on a Thursday night with a fire undercard. That's what I was thinking. How it all unfolded, whole different story. I still salute Shakur, you know what I'm saying? My only question mark is when those big bright lights come on, does it get too big and too bright? Because with Tank, you know what I'm saying, we know that don't happen. We saw it happen with Boots. People say with Boots and Karan Chukajan, did the lights get too big and too bright? It's sometimes when people get up on that big stage and them big bright lights come on, a la like Rolly, even though I think he put a forth a concerted effort. But when it all came down and the rubber met the road, those lights were too big. You know what I'm saying? The best ones don't let the big bright lights phase them. It's like that punt returner at the Super Bowl. He's been running back kickoffs all year. He's back there. He's waiting. And next thing you know, boop, boop. And you like, oh, it happens. You know, when you got all them eyeballs and all that attention on you, you know what I'm saying? Things change. So my question mark is with Shakur. You know what I'm saying? And I know how he feels about the media. I'm not media. You know what I'm saying? People won't let me get an interview. If you like what I do and you understand that I'm trying to move along in the vein of the Pivot podcast, that's my standard. You know what I'm saying? People like Doggy Diamond, those are my standards as far as interviewing, how I like to interact and get questions and stuff like that. I'm not all about the salaciousness. You know what I'm saying? I'll let your boy, let me get that interview. But if I could get a message off to Shakur, I'd be like, look, man, it's just time to show that when them big bright lights come on, a la the Olympics, a la, you know, this title fight here, that the lights don't get too big for you. That's the question mark. You know what I'm saying? Yes, with that kind of style being that elusive, if that's what we want to call it, yeah, it'd be hard for kind of anybody to beat. But in a dog-eat-dog, you know, world where, you know, fans are demanding their pound of flesh and watching fights, you know what I'm saying, that's not going to crack the box office. And especially for somebody like Tank and his team and the trajectory and the azimuth that he got, even though skill for skill, we should still be wanting that fight. Newsflash. Hardcore. We should still be wanting to see Tank versus Shakur, but we can't push that on the suits. The suits was like, man, I don't want to touch it. It's almost like Eddie Hearn when he seen Bud and Bud was free, and Eddie was like, I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole because he knows the numbers. It's a different ball game, and this is prize fighting, and we're talking about the cash cow. So that's my only question mark for Shakur. But looking in those rankings, I'm thinking, oh, okay, cool. It's some new fresh blood on the scene. Raymond Morataya. And everybody is saying they're drawing a correlation to how he handled Nakatilia versus how Shakur handled Nakatilia. A lot of comparisons are drawn. I seen and heard a lot of that going on today. You know what I'm saying? So they thinking that this dude Morataya is somebody that can act, is breathing down Shakur's neck, chomping at the bit. I'm thinking about De Los Santos, and I'm like, okay, who should De Los Santos fight? What's reasonable? Isaac Pitbull Cruz got his eyes set on Tank Davis. Is that the fight next? I mean, that's what the consensus is, that it's going to be a Pitbull Cruz and a Tank Davis. We have no confirmation of that. We don't know. You know what I'm saying? As Tank fans, we pretty much in the dark. We don't know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? We know he's getting his life together. He got some personal things, and I want the best Tank in the ring. So I hope that once all that stuff clears from over his head, we get a Tank that's coming in, you know what I'm saying, with a clear mind, able to train and feel free and empowered going into a fight. So I'm sorry to say that I'm not in a rush. If he's not out of that stuff that he in, I'm not in a rush to see him get in there with nobody. I know that the paychecks, the team, everybody else is like, hey, man, let's go ahead and get back to what we've been doing. The fans are like, man, we don't care. It's a lot of people that's calling on Tank each and every day, just wanting and demanding, you know what I'm saying? They want it right now. You know, they want some Tank right now, and they want him to fight who they want. And I'm like, I'm looking at it like, man, I'm not jumping on none of this stuff. I'm not getting out in front of none of this stuff. Can't really defend it. I just know that from a suits perspective right now, the Shakur fight might have took a step back. And I'm just being honest. You know what I'm saying? That and the fact that his contract will be up. We don't know if he's going to re-sign like Bud did. You know what I'm saying? And since this is a what have you done for me lately sport, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people are judging them because of Thursday night. So looking at the landscape, the aftermath, I'm like, okay, what's De Los Santos' next move? If I was De Los Santos, I'd be looking for smoke once again with Pitbull and once again with Frank Martin. Because those are makeable fights. That's the PB side. Where we're going to air the shows, that's still a question mark. That's why I was saying with a lot of demand that people have for Tank and people, all them people on the PBC, it's like, yeah, we got these last couple fights here for the end of the year. We got rumblings of some things early next year, but like, it's wide open and we're in the dark. We're the fans that's like, here, take my money. We can't run it. You know what I'm saying? We got to pray to the boxing gods that they whisper in the suit's ears so we can get some of these fights. So where do we stand? De Los Santos need to be looking for a Pitbull since he's with PBC and them. You know, on that side, you know, Frank Martin. You know what I'm saying? My biggest concern was Frank Martin. Because even though I would say, you know, by the letter of the law, what that was that happened with somebody on your team, give they John Hancock, and then you see it personally, and you say you veto it. You know what I'm saying? That is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like we go into business, and your wife signed for me to go ahead and do whatever work I gotta do, and you don't know about it. And I come through, I go get materials, I come through to do my work. You know what I'm saying? And then you're like, oh no, we didn't do this. It's like, well, we was all set to go. That's a pullout. My concern with Frank and how vicious and salacious the media is, it will make somebody like Frank think that he don't got real fans. You got real fans, Frank. We just don't know what the next move is. If I was Frank Martin, I would be looking to go ahead and show what I could do up against a De Los Santos. Show that I'm not going to run with a De Los Santos. Show that I'm superior to a De Los Santos. If I was Frank right now, I'll be on the phone like, hey, De Los Santos, Edwin, La Granada, let's get it on. If I was the Grenade, I'm like, hey, I don't duck no smoke, Frank. Let's get it on. That's just me, though. Both of them should be going after Isaac Pitbull Cruz. Isaac Pitbull Cruz, if he really want that Tank fight to make it even more, if he can go in there and upset the apple cart against either one of them guys, because I don't think Pitbull Cruz can beat either one of them guys. But if he were able to go in there and do something, you know, special to them guys, that would be the best way to get to a Tank fight. You know what I'm saying? But realistically, I think Shakur is probably going to see somebody like a Zepeda because it's rumored that Kambosos is going to fight with Loma. I know Shakur was gunning for Loma. And on that side, maybe even a Jermaine Ortiz. Do Jermaine Ortiz still want it? Did that make Jermaine Ortiz even more hungry? Because a lot of people believe that Jermaine Ortiz actually beat Lomachenko, but he also was able to stop Jamel Herring, but he got him right after the Shakur. And I think that Shakur fight to Jamel Herring, especially because they were kind of cool and tight. And part of me think that Jamel Herring didn't really want to fight that man. That's just me. I'm not taking away from what Shakur did, but with the money situation, how that belt was, you know, all of that stuff. Part of me think that man really didn't want to fight Shakur. And Jermaine Ortiz got him right after that. And I'm like, man, Jamel, man, you could be calling boxing. You a veteran. You got, you know what I'm saying? You classy. You the method of standard, personable guy. You know what I'm saying? Move on, because these young boys are coming to take your fruit cocktail. They're going to ask you for your cornbread. So get out while you can, man, because, you know, as a veteran and having that, you know, those situations, and then, you know what I'm saying, you get hit in the head for a living. But who am I? Run your career. I just wish the best. So I see Jermaine Ortiz in the mix. William Zepeda, I think he's going to probably want to go ahead and fight a Shakur. Because he's going to think, the rumor has it is that since Shakur probably won't see him like a real threat, Shakur probably stand in the pocket with him and pick him off like fish in a barrel. I know Zepeda is a high work rate guy. You know what I'm saying? He's not all that technical, but he does do a lot of body work, and he's susceptible to dog work. You know what I'm saying? If you got some dog in you, could take one or two, and then you can get yours off. You might be able to stick him, make him a little hesitant, and then kind of change the complexion. Because I seen JoJo Diaz. If JoJo Diaz would have had a little extra on his You know, he might have been able to do something, but he really didn't have it. You know what I'm saying? We talking about JoJo Diaz. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. So I'm looking at the landscape, man, and I think this guy Morataya, since he's from Top Rank, exciting fighter, he's getting the job done, he's getting knockouts, he's putting the eyeballs on screens, and he is the talk of the town right now. Even though he's not inside of those 10 that I mentioned, he is the talk of the town. So this is the aftermath of what happened at 135. Yes, we did restore some order by getting Shakur Stevens to get one of them belts. You know what I'm saying? We're pretty sure that Tank Davis being in the WBA is probably going to get elevated for that other belt. So we got 2 other belts that we're looking at. The IBF and the, what is it? It'll be the WBO. Those will be up for grabs. Let me know, man, what should Frank do? I think that's what Frank should do. You know what I'm saying? Frank, you really didn't lose no stock. I think you missed out on the opportunity, especially seeing how that fight went. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you being matched and developed in the different styles, maybe you could have been able to do a little bit more with Shakur. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the knock with De Los Santos, that maybe he could have cut the ring off a little bit better. Maybe Frank could have cut the ring off a little bit better. You know what I'm saying? But with it being on Top Rank and it not being for a title, you know, I'm not sure what the money would be like and all that. But this is the aftermath of the Shakur and De Los Santos. I don't think that De Los Santos should have taken a step back, because really that's really an all in how you judge that fight. Yes, I agree that Shakur Stevenson should have got the nod. I'll go over my scorecard one day. I have it written down. I'll just post it up in the community section. So if you're a subscriber to the channel, check in my community section, man. I'm going to start exposing some people, the people biting my content verbatim. Some of people that got 330,000, you know what I'm saying, views. I mean, we're talking about websites that got 1.52 members. I'm talking about verbatim. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to start putting some stuff in the community tab to keep my community abreast. Because even though we're a small channel that build brick by brick, that don't mean that we won't be getting bit and bit and bit. You know what I'm talking about? But anyways, man, I thank everybody who rock with your boy, man, who come through and comment and give feedback. You know what I'm saying? This is the alternative to opinion-based content. This is true and fact-based content. So like the videos, comment under the videos, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and make sure you update your notifications. And I'll just let you know, sometimes I take a break, man, because I'm a fan just like everybody else, and I need a break, because this is a niche market. It's a brutal market. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, people will pilfer from your ideas. They'll steal from you. They'll take from you. You know, really can't get no interviews, you know, but it's just a dogmatic love for the sport that keep you going and wanting to keep other people abreast, because it's a lot of people that'll play on your mind as a casual with the knowledge that you don't have. This is not a channel like that. I'll try to keep you abreast, and I'll try to run down and be real specific about what I know. You know what I'm saying? So we heard about the rankings. That was of 3 days ago. I don't know where De Los Santos is going to go. I know Jermaine Ortiz moved up in the rankings a little bit. And who else moved up in the rankings? That was the most notable one. And I think he's the most valuable one because he has shared the ring with Herring and Loma. So I'll be looking for one of them fights or Zepeda. He's been pretty quiet, but then we've seen links with Frank and Zepeda talking, even though that's cross-promotional. Who knows? Chime in on the videos. I always try to put a playlist at the end of my end screen, or I'll put a video back there that may not be that popular, but I think that has a message that you need to know. So make sure at the end you look at the end screen and figure out what I got going on. Thanks for tuning in here with Bodywork Boxing, but we don't take things for face value. We do that body work. November the 21st, 2023. November the 21st, 2023, y'all. Hopefully, man, I build some equity with y'all, man. But like, you see what I was saying about how, I didn't see why De Los Santos would take a step back. And since then, when Tank was mentioned, as a possibility, or like remember when Rayo and Edwin De Los Santos was mentioned as a potential opponent for Tank, and everybody, oh man, he's probably gonna get a Rayo or De Los Santos, and they were like, oh man, but look at how they're doing now. Like, so now instead of Roach, somebody should have fought De Los Santos, and instead of Gustavo Lemos, Keyshawn should have fought De Los Santos. But you see how they devalued De Los Santos when they was doing that on the strength of a Shakur. This is what I be talking about, these narratives, man, and perception, and making spectacles out of everything. I think Lamont Roach is a very formidable opponent. Gustavo Lemos is a very formidable opponent. We got to stop with this divide and conquer stuff. We got to stop getting our chains rattled. We got to stop getting shooken up, stirred up, spent around, and tapped on our backsides and sent down on our merry little way, all dizzy and confused. So they will pit everybody up against each other to their advantage just to prop up their own guys. Because I'm going to tell y'all another secret. Y'all don't see the irony in that the two guys that they're pushing, aside from Abdullah Mason, and see Abdullah Mason, he's just young enough to where they can use his potential and how he looks right now to their advantage. But they're going to do the same thing to him once he starts accomplishing everything. They'll start going back and saying, oh, if you look at his resume, his first 16 fights, man, if you look at these guys, they wasn't really this and that. They'll start doing that. So they'll use his youth and what he's doing right now to his advantage to weaponize his reputation and his resume right now to shit on somebody else. But when he starts achieving everything, they're going to start dragging him and raking him through the coals too. But you can see the irony that the two guys, aside from Abdullah Mason, that they're propping up is who? William Zepeda, Raymond Morataya. So when it's convenient, they'll shit on Tank. When it's convenient, they'll shit on Shakur. When it's convenient, they'll shit on Keyshawn. They'll shit on De Los Santos. They'll shit on Schofield. They might give Abdullah his props. They'll shit on Andy Cruz, and they'll raise up a Raymond Morataya and a Zepeda. Not saying that them guys are not putting in work and doing what they're doing, but you know exactly what I'm saying, y'all. I just want us to not do that, man. Let's look at everything right. Let's start evaluating everything. And this is probably the last thing I'm going to leave y'all with, man. Then this is real crazy, man, especially with all this Devin Haney stuff, man. I said I was going to give a young man a break. I'm like, but, man, they won't give themselves a break. But I'll say this. I seen a diehard fan, man. I went and seen a snippet of a video yesterday of a diehard fan, right? And this is the example that they use, and I'm gonna tell you, because I see this all the time, man. All you got to do is start. If you catch somebody when they're talking about their favorite fighter or the guy that they like, they'll always contradict themselves. Always. I try to examine myself when I'm talking about somebody I like. I try to say, you know what, am I being biased? And then I'm like, oh no. Or if I believe I do have a bias, I'll try to explain it, but I won't deny it. If it's looking like a bias, I won't deny it. But let me give you this example, man. And I'm gonna tell you how this is gonna tell you how mainly how YouTube boxing is working and how a lot of people are discussing boxing. Right? This guy said, This is the example he used. This is not my example. It's not my example. This is an example that he used. He used the example. He said he was arguing and he was really getting on he was talking about Bud he was shitting on Bud and he was shitting on Tank. Right. This is what he said. His thing was when Bud got undisputed, he said people was telling him that he could only use the WBO to move up the next rank higher, the next weight class higher, and guarantee himself a fight or land a fight. And he was like, well, that's not really true. He was like, when you undisputed, he said, even though we're going to keep it with the WBO, he said, when you're undisputed, because you're undisputed, pretty much you can move up and get any one of the champions at the next higher rank. So that was the example he gave when he was talking about Bud. His argument was Bud went up and got Jeff Horn, right? His argument was, he said, well, why didn't he do that for Manny Pacquiao? And I'm sitting there like, okay, so what you saying? Are you saying why didn't he do it? Why didn't he move up to fight Pacquiao before Pacquiao fought Jeff Horn? Or like, what are you saying? Like, what was I say? Okay, but let's just go with your thing. Let's just go with what you're saying as far as when you're undisputed, you can move up, and because you're undisputed, you can latch on and fight any one of the champions, right? Let's just go with your theory, right? I say, okay, so let's use since you shitting on Bud and you shitting on Tank, let's look at the fighter you like in Devin. Devin was the only, they won't tell you this, Devin is the only guy who has fought one time and got undisputed. The man had one fight and got undisputed. It'll never happen again. That will never happen again. Even Bud moved up, he fought Jeff Horn, that's one fight. He closed it out by fighting Bud. That's two fights for undisputed. Devin Haney is the only guy that fought one time and got undisputed. And it was when he fought George Kambosos the first time. Then he went back and defended it. That would never happen again. They would deny that. But let's just say, okay, cool. You got undisputed. You went back and forth with Shakur. Shakur went to the sanctioning body. What happened? You dropped the belt. You moved up. You chose Regis Prograis. So at the time, you chose Regis Prograis at a time when Teofimo Lopez had a belt. Sabril Matias had a belt. Who had the other belt? Rolly. And I think Pitbull. Hold on. No, it was Regis. It was Regis, Sabril, Tio, and who had that belt before Polo? I don't know why I'm drawing the blank. Rolly. So at the time, so with the same example, and I'm just using this because we don't realize this, man, when it comes to you jacking your favorite fighter. You know what I'm saying? When you pushing and you pulling and you prodding, trying to get your favorite fighter that next, you know what I'm saying? Trying to give him his just dues, trying to get him his credit, trying to, you know, give him his salutes, trying to big him up. You don't see the inherent biases that you have. Because I said, man, I always said, man, any conversation when somebody is too high or too low on Bud, or too high or too low on Devin, all you gotta do is use them as the same comparison. Just use them. If somebody get too low on Bud, bring up Devin. Somebody get the praise in Devin, bring up Bud. Like, so you can't say, so with that example, you can't say that when you're undisputed, you got free reign and you can pick whatever you want. So, but by that definition, you beat Lomachenko, you moved up to fight Regis, coming off of a bad performance against Cirilla, where you still had all the physical advantages. And if Regis was the type of guy that you were, you would have been in court because of that fight. But he didn't litigate. And nobody was breathing down his neck saying, oh, man, you got to do that, man. It's your right, man. This guy shouldn't be able to do this and that and in court and all this. Nobody said that. So a lot of these guys out here online, man, they be talking just to be talking, man, hearing themselves talk. They got caught like followers. You can't tell them nothing. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times they full of shit. You know what I'm saying? I think somewhere deep down inside, you know what I'm saying, they good, but the likes, clicks, and the views, that feeling of being wanted, that feeling of being appreciated, that feeling of thinking that you know what I'm saying, whatever it is you think you bring to people, it gets too much. It gets like a drug. You can't control yourself. So the same thing that you find yourself, you know what I'm saying, tearing down others about, you fall victim to doing yourself. Whenever I feel like I'm doing it, I check myself and I'm like, nah, I'm getting offline at this point. Let me sit back and watch for a little while. You know what I'm saying? Let me enjoy being a fan. I'm just a fan that happen to do content. Because I know it's a lot of casual people out here that don't have time to sit and listen to it. They got to go by and listen to whoever they can listen to who's going to be the most regular with the personality and the flavor or the swag that they like, that they listen to. That don't mean that they're always right. I don't even proclaim to always be right. I try to be consistent. You know what I'm saying? I try to have, you know what I'm saying? I try to be thorough in whatever I do. You know, I am a perfectionist to an extent, but I understand that there's always going to be flies in the ointment, and I do make mistakes. I'm out for all these guys to get money. I want to see them all fight. I'm not throwing nobody away just because of one loss. Hell, 2 losses. You know what I'm saying? If you're not shot, and I don't think that it's, you know, that it's going to be detrimental for you to get back in the ring, I say, man, get back in that saddle as many times as you can. As long as you're not taking punishment, getting abused. I want them all to get money. I want them all to get bread, man. But we got to look at our standards, man. All these guys are getting the list, and out of the list, they're picking who they want. Why do we act different when it comes down to different boxers? They all doing it. We can't paint this narrative, oh man, now he's handpicking and oh, this is tough. But look at who and when and how they give you credit and the time of when they want to give you credit. Like right now, Edwin De Los Santos, his stock is so high. Wait till he have another fight announced. Wait till, because look at, let's, just the last example I'm gonna give y'all. If we look back at Subriel Matias, right? Everybody was ducking the man. I was online for months. Campaigning for that man, putting stakes in the ground, factual information, reading these articles, putting out the information, keeping everybody updated of what was going on and on and on. The powers that be, the people with the speaker boxes and the big couches, they avoided the topic. Why? It wasn't beneficial to their channels, so his stock took a hit. Liam Paro, just like a Lamont Roach, decided, hey, I'm gonna step up to the plate. He believed in himself. He literally was, I did a video called Against All Odds. He was literally against all odds. Being Australian, people not really knowing him other than the boxing gyms. They said his name was buzzing out there in Vegas, but they didn't know him. He bet on himself. He fought Subriel Matias in his own backyard. T.O. ducked him. Devin ducked him. That's facts. He stepped up to the plate and got it done. Subriel Matias lost. He didn't get beat up. He got outboxed. Liam Paro used the clinch. He outworked him. He didn't beat him up. Where's Subriel Matias' stock now? Well, he got a fight announced. Nobody went crazy. But now everybody's screaming out Edwin De Los Santos because it's convenient to use his name as a barrier between what's going on now. No, like Edwin De Los Santos is my guy. He need to get another fight in the books, get active, and when he get in the ring, people gonna see, because he got one of them products to win inside the ring, outside of that Shakur fight. Look like he's always in an interesting fight. Even the way he handled Adorno, I thought he could have stepped on the gas more, but I thought he was working on something and he showed something. But like, we can't pick and choose when we're going to like be calling people out on the BS that goes along with promoting or demoting, denigrating these fans. I mean, these boxers, painting these narratives. You know what I'm saying? Keyshawn is doing a good thing. The card was lit. My question was, dang, the card was super duper lit with Keyshawn, his brother Kelvin, his younger brother making his debut in Keon. Then he had Troy Ozzie on there. They had Abdullah Mason on there, and Brian Norman was going to defend his strap on there in Norfolk. I mean, that card was so lit. Norman pulled out. We haven't heard from him. So when tracking balls going in holes and soccer balls going in goals, we got to follow up with the Normans and see and reevaluate the situation with the boots. So we were playing ping pong at first, looking for who we gonna blame and some of us just looking at it honestly like, okay, hold on now. He got a point here, you got a point there. Okay, cool. This is what we're gonna get. All right, we're gonna get Karen too. Okay, cool. Everybody say you're gonna knock him out this time. Okay, cool. Get that on. Maybe they'll revisit it around. Now Norman done dropped out the race. Blair Cobbs is campaigning for a fight. You know what I'm saying? Devin need to move up into that division. I don't know what the problem is. But that's what I do, man. I put stakes in the ground, man, and just, you know what I'm saying, just give you something to think about, man. I'm not trying to be salacious or really to open up your mind, man, enhance your critical thinking skills or get you to practice it a little bit more, man, where it's just not, don't stop just remembering what other people are saying about this, holding hand with all these people that got money and all this other shit on their mind about it. Some of us just want to see the sport grow. And if the sport can grow, it can give us, you know, a good time. We can get enjoyment out of it. That's what we want, man. But I want y'all to pay attention to from this point until the time they get it on. I want y'all to see how they going to start painting Keyshawn, man, and who's painting it and what the agenda is. So you want to get all worked up about it. Because, you know, people just going to come back behind it and try to spice it and try to make it all this and this and that. Remember, that might not equate to people. Look, the venue is already sold out. Thing is, this is what I believe. I think that Keyshawn is slowly trying to take over Top Rank. He has a couple blocks that he has to check in order to do that. But I think he is attempting to do that. And because they never want to make a person, somebody like Keyshawn, feel as though that he has the power and ability to take it over where it can be his, they always have to like have him looking behind him thinking that, oh man, nope, this guy's doing this and that guy's doing that, when he really just need to keep focused. This is a major move, and do not get slipped up by this guy Gustavo Lemos, because this Gustavo Lemos guy he's dangerous. He's a tough customer, man. And I think just as much as he taught Richardson Hitchens, he also learned from Richardson Hitchens. And this is going to be a tough fight. But they're going to do, mark my words, if Keyshawn Davis going in and something happened like what Bacoli did to Jared Anderson, he's going to get the same treatment. And all of a sudden, all these glowing praise and all this stuff that they're saying about him is going to evaporate. We got to applaud him for taking and picking a tough customer. But we don't know who those other names were. But we can't believe that those names that's on that list, any of that was really possible. Maybe I could think of two other names that he might have got, but I'm not sure. You know, I'm not an insider. Keys pick a tough out, no credit. Salute bodywork. His twin Salute. Fury was also a fighter who in one fight he could have been undisputed. Yeah. Fury versus Usyk. In one fight. Well, one fight is one fight to get it, and then one fight to unify him. Devin got awarded a belt and bought that belt he was awarded to a table with. Pretty much it was like the belt he was awarded to the table with all the other belts and got it. But that's just food for thought, man. I sit back and sometimes, man, when certain people talk about their fighters and what they got going on, I'm like, You just said, I hear some wild stuff, man. I hear him say it every day, and I'm like, you just contradicted yourself. Like that's why it's like sometimes it ain't even, for me, it ain't even really. I already know what it is, man. It's an agenda. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not gonna talk your head off. I keep these at an hour, man. This was a food for thought type deal. Just something to put on your mind, man. He didn't handpick him, and look. These two guys down here, they're on different promotions. They're on different sides of the street, right? And everybody, whenever it's convenient for them, they'll shit on those guys down there. They'll shit on Schofield, and they'll shit on De Los Santos. They'll big up Lemos, but they'll shit on them two guys down there when it's convenient, and then they'll weaponize their names when it's convenient to benefit their argument. Watch. Just watch. Just take my word for it. I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna keep coming back. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna keep coming back. Great show, solid info. I appreciate that, AC. I appreciate that, bro. But yeah, that's the main thing, man. Support the channel, man. Yeah, so support the channel, man. But yeah, man, put out some positive vibes for your boy, man. Hopefully we got some big things going on, man. I appreciate everybody who show up, everybody who comment, like, you know what I'm saying, everybody who hit the super chat, you know what I'm saying, from time to time. I ask for support because it do take time to do these things, man. And it's organic, man. It's organic, man. I cite sources, man. If I pick up something from somewhere else, I'll let you know. I won't act like it's mine. And I take pride in that, man, because people desire credit for their work, man. But little guys need support, man. And if you don't do it, man, I've seen a lot of small channels start and they just can't maintain because they don't get the support, man. And what happened? The big guys, they come by, they take, they borrow, they bite, they pilfer, they loot, they plunder, and they get all the bread for stealing other people's shit. Food for thought, man. But thanks for choosing Bodywork Boxing. But we don't take things for face value. We do that body work.
He didn't want to box. He wanted to actually prove that he could punch with you. He was like, what the fuck is this nigga, right? Oh, okay, you want to go to sleep. You tired.
Welcome to Body Work.